knowing that you'll respect them in the morning with intelligent talk that stimulates.
Welcome back to Inside the News, and this is our Picking Up the Pieces segment. Frank Vernuccio and Ben Brunson, myself, Guy Wehman. The Great Reset. This topic has got Ben so jacked up, he's not, it's hard to contain him, and he's missing his third cup of coffee this morning, although I think he's on Diet Coke. I don't know what he's drinking today. But anyways,
Zevia now.
What is it?
Zevia.
Oh, it's the new Zevia thing. There we go. All right, Ben, the Great Reset. Go.
Look, everyone's hearing this phrase, the Great Reset. It's trending. A lot of people trying to research it. It has a very real and tangible meaning. This is the progressive, globalist, anti-capitalist agenda writ large that is being led by a guy named Klaus Schwab, who is a German, who is the founder of the World Economic Forum. And he has many proponents of this concept of destroying capitalism, destroying free markets, and having a global elitist community that decides what is best for everybody. And so, for instance, destroys the carbon-based energy market and brings about clean energy for the good of humanity. All of the things that, these sayings that are used to justify totalitarianism and totalitarian regimes and thinking. It is a new totalitarian wave. And there are a lot of people who believe in this. You see the tech industry, leaders and CEOs are on board with this agenda because, of course, they view themselves as being on the winning side of this and having control at the end of the day. But this is a monster that is a belief system that's horrible. It is literally a totalitarian vision of the world, 1984 writ large, and it is coming at you. And with Biden in the White House, again, continue on the theme of earlier, we will have a subservient United States instead of an assertive United States. And that's when these progressive ideologies flourish.
Elitocrats, and I kind of came up with that name, and maybe it's already been out there, I don't know. But Frank, elitocrats is pretty much what they want to be.
Everything old is new again. Let's go back in history. If you look at Europe for most of its tenure since the fall of the Roman Empire, the establishment of the Middle Ages and so forth, right up and pretty much until World War I, a small group of families, interrelated, ruled the continent. The kings and queens of England and Germany and Russia, Spain and so forth were all interrelated. They were elites who decided everything that would go on in their countries in terms of trade, in terms of personal freedom or lack thereof. Well, we no longer have guys walking around in crowns and lion skin coats and all that sort of thing, but we've replaced the exact same concept of the royal families ruling the world with the new elites. So now the European Union leaders, the fellows like Strauss, they're not going to be calling themselves kings and queens, but in essence, they have revived the monarchical concept of leadership that we had happily did away with in the last century. It's back again. And with that coming back again, it destroys the concept of individual citizens and individual citizen rights. Because after all, you unwashed, filthy peasants, you don't really know what's right. You're too stupid to understand what's good for you. So we, the royal elite, will lead you and guide you.
Well, look, Frank is dead on. You had the family rule for over 1,000 years in Europe. And when you had a series of revolutions, starting with the French Revolution, inspired by the American Revolution, but you had a series of revolutions, the Revolution of 1848. What you saw in replacement of these families were a series of dictators, whether it was Napoleon or Franco or Mussolini or Hitler or Stalin. You went through that phase, and only in the last 70 years have you had, because of the intervention of the United States, and solely, I would add, because of the intervention of the United States, have you had the U.S. style of the U.S. concept of the right of the individual being above the right of the state take hold in Europe. But that is at risk with this these elitocrats, as you say, Guy, who want to take charge again. They want to rule in a shadowy way, in a supranational way, and control the economy and thereby control you, control your rights, take away your rights to freedom and everything else. And that's what's on their agenda.
All right. We're going to leave it there at this segment, but we're going to come back. We're going to talk about SpaceX. And this is some good news to end up the program here as we put a bow on it. Frank Vernuccio, Ben Brunson, myself, Guy Wehman. We'll be back.
By the way, I'll add this. Another company that knew full well 3 weeks ago the results of their trial, just like Pfizer, and Moderna, in their case, had $3 billion of money that Trump got into their hands to fund their research and their ramp up of production. And again, they knew the results of that vaccine trial were fully known 3 weeks ago. And of course, they kept their mouths shut.
One of the first things that the Trump administration did very, very early on, I think it was actually in late January, just days after the inauguration, the Trump administration began to attack FDA regulations, which were holding back the speed with which new drugs could come onto market. And Operation Warp Speed was essentially the follow-on to that. Yet you won't find anyone in the media saying, hey, this new drug, 94% effective, is coming on the market. What a great triumph for the Trump administration attack on the regulators. I am stocking up on Pepcid because in January, after the inauguration, if Biden wins, and this drug starts getting to the market, we're going to hear how wonderful it is. Biden got into office, and all of a sudden, COVID is receding. All hail Joe Biden.
Right.
Yeah, we're all going to have acid reflux as a part of that. Welcome back to the program. Glad to have you with us, and that's just a portion of what's going on here. And Frank, as Ben mentioned, Moderna, they knew full well what was going on here, and they could have announced that before the election. They did not want to because they were in the everybody's in everybody's pocket except Donald Trump, and that's why they don't like him, because he's willing to stand up for America. In just a couple of minutes, let's have a feel-good moment here with SpaceX. Go.
Well, America returns to space again. SpaceX launched 4 astronauts. By the way, no one's mentioning the fact that America never launched that many astronauts at one time, and that was a real accomplishment. One of the reasons I am so excited about the success of SpaceX and the coming success of Boeing with their craft is that we are facing another down point in the American manned space program in terms of NASA. President Obama did everything possible to castrate the manned space program. He essentially destroyed it. And now we are seeing the private sector coming into its own. It might be the only game in town after Biden, if he gets elected, takes funds, as Obama did, from the manned space program and puts them into climate change and all that type of research. So this is a really exciting step forward. I equate it, by the way, with how America began as a great nation. You know, if we had to wait for bureaucrats in Washington to say, go west, then we might still be 13 colonies sitting on the eastern seaboard of the United States. But it was individual pioneers who went west, got those Conestoga wagons, went west, didn't ask for government permission. They just did it. And they made this nation a continental superpower. Now we see SpaceX, we see Boeing. There are a few others that are starting to get into the field. Thank God for them, because we're facing, under a potential Biden presidency, another 4 years of sucking funds out of the manned space program of NASA and putting it into left-wing programs like climate change nonsense.
Millionaires and billionaires like rockets. And just as we have Musk with his SpaceX, and then we have Bezos with Orion, they love their rockets. And I think there's so much money here behind it that there may be a little pushback here, Ben.
Well, maybe, except the success speaks for itself. So the fact is that Elon Musk, SpaceX, has done an incredible job of modernizing space launches and lowering the cost of space launches. It's really remarkable when you watch, for instance, the latest launch, and you look at mission control at SpaceX and how clean and uncluttered and simple it all is. everyone with their flat screen TVs in front of them versus watching Apollo 13 and what mission control looked like 20, 30, 40 years ago. So it's really quite a change, very modern technology, and success speaks for itself.
You know, we've been there to Mission Control in Cape Canaveral. When you take that tour and you see what happens when they launch those, and you see those consoles that they're sitting at, and Ben, that's what you're talking about. Literally, how it seems like how archaic they are, but yet they were able to do so much with so little.
Well, you know, they were using cutting edge 60s technology. The problem is they relied on that technology up until just the last 10 or 15 years. So it's been the private sector has really led the modernization of space travel and space flight. And it's a big win, just like the Operation Warp Speed and the public-private partnership has been a big win for the country.
Okay, one more thing here, or your hot button topic. Frank, go.
For over 100 years, socialism, wherever and however it's been applied, has been an absolute disaster. It has impoverished nations. It has eliminated individual rights. It's been a disaster. It is astounding that now you have an entire party which might have captured the White House, we still don't know, might have captured the White House, that is now going to rule the United States for 4 years until the next presidential election. I guess it's because universities have stopped teaching our young people how to think and how to understand history. It's a disaster in the making. Hopefully it can change. It's going to be up to, I think, individual parents to demand that students get real history, real civics, and not left-wing propaganda.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank. Ben Brunson in the bottom, your hot button topic.
Well, among the missions of the left stream media is, of course, the eradication of anything pro-Trump and any news story that favors Donald Trump. One such news story is that the Israelis killed Abdullah Ahmad Abdullah, the number 2 person in Al-Qaeda, the number 2 living person. This happened in August in a suburb in Tehran. The information and intelligence on where he was supplied by the United States. Israel has the operatives who work inside Iran, and they do engage in assassinations there. And so we killed the number 2 guy at Al-Qaeda. Well done, cost this country nothing. We didn't have to send SEAL Team 6 out in the middle of in a risky mission somewhere. The Israelis handled business for us. And so that's a big success for the United States, a big win, buried by the press.
Yeah. Abdullah could have been named Jack if it was here in the United States. Hey, Ben, thanks.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Frank. Thank you to our listeners, and happy Thanksgiving.
And thanks. Oh, yeah, that's right. A quick Thanksgiving thought here, Ben, before I go to Frank.
Well, enjoy your family this year, and don't listen to the BS coming out of the left wing. Go enjoy a family reunion.
Absolutely. And Frank, hey, thanks. Good as always, your little Thanksgiving wish.
Well, Thanksgiving won't be very familiar in New York without the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And of course, our elected officials who are trying to tell us we can't even celebrate with our own families. Folks, do you need more of a clear example of tyranny than that?
I think what we ought to do is have those balloons with masks over their mouths. That'd be great. All right. That does it for all of us here. We're going to see you again next week when we once again go Inside the News.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.